Alright, and we're back. This has been a absurdly long delay I should say. Work basically got super busy, and I've been working an insane amount of time. I haven't had really more than like 30-40 minute windows here, and the unfortunate thing when you're in the middle of wiring, you tend to kind of forget the flow of what you were in the midst of, and I've tried to go back. This could be just tacked on to the end. I think we've got like 10-15 minutes or so of footage of this. And I so wish that I could have just knocked it out at the time, but what I'm going to do is get these clamps off. Those have been there forever at this point in time, and then I've just whipped out two harnesses, one more complex than the other. This one, it's just got a ring terminal. It's going to be a power, and this side right here I'm just going to strip down, and I plan to tie it in with this. The red feed, that's going to be 12 volt switched coming out of the factory stereo harness. This one is a little bit more complex just because we've got the ring terminal for our strip, and then right here one of those pesky little open barrel things, and what that's going to do in theory is going to bring factory ground from this guy right here, and that'll let me run that ground strip down. And now the issue is, aside from it being a really long time, I want to mock that up and kind of see if everything has clean ground off of that, or if I'm going to need to modify things. And I'd really love to get this thing buttoned up. We're super close to being done with the truck. It's just, this is kind of the most daunting part remaining, and again, it's mainly the hiatus. Anytime you're doing wiring, it's best if you can just knock it out. And that did not happen for me, so I'm gonna see what I can't screw up here, and hopefully we can get this thing cranked out. I've been out here forever. I had my first meal around 7, like literally no breakfast, no lunch, meal at 7. And came back out here. I was hell-bent on figuring this thing out. I could not make any progress. I was building harnesses, knocking things out. Things are going great. Go to testing. Backup camera, awesome. It's wired in. Everything's good with the breaker bar and everything. And then I came in, and the steering wheel controls of all things wouldn't work. And I'm like, we've tested these. I know they worked. They worked before we did the harness. What's the deal? Could not figure anything out. I thought, man, did I built it myself? Did I cross the black and the white? That wouldn't do it. I thought, yeah, was the ground really finicky? Tried everything under the sun. Finally, I thought, you know, the only thing left is to take the cover off and just investigate the connections we made. And well, what do you know? Right there, if that looks like it's not connected well, it's not. And that's probably my entire source of problem. So essentially, anytime I press that or the steering wheel control on the other side, the box should like change colors, the amber LED. Never would. It did not respond to inputs. It had power every time under the sun. And that's the source of my problem. So how do we rectify this? A, we connect it, and B, I try to figure out how on earth that thing pulled through. I've got ample wiring there, so I have no clue what happened. Also, those are not the easiest things to separate. I'm not saying they're difficult, but it does require some effort. So we'll figure that out, we'll correct it, we'll rectify it, and then I will get this thing buttoned up, and sadly probably have to call it a night, because it is, yeah, almost midnight. So anyway, I'm gonna get this fixed, and we'll be back. Alright, so it's a little after midnight now. I'm just hell-bent on not going in until this is resolved, or at least partially resolved. It's reached that point, so I have no idea what was going on with the steering wheel control module. It was set up, the dip switches were the same, volume up and down would go, but the track would never go. And I went in, I had to manually program it, still couldn't get it. It's kind of funky if you've never done it. You'd have to hold down the blue button, wait for the LED to change, and then you have to find your make a radio and go through every single function. Clearly on the truck, volume up and down and track up and down are the main things. So the stuff in the middle, well, you can program it or skip it. So I went ahead and I did mute and source which I don't know if they work yet. Mute does, although it doesn't like mute it, it just turns it way down. Source, I haven't messed with it because I just hear static. I don't have the antenna. That'll actually be really handy. I did a long play, basically. There's 5 steering wheel control buttons on this truck. So inboard over here, we've got up and down, and then here it's the 3-position switch. So track up, track down, which is function 6 and 7 on a Kenwood. If I tap this once, I mute the center button. If I long hold the center button, it should switch sources. We'll see if it's capable of that or not. And then the issue was, you'll note 5 is play, which seems stupid to me. So the way you skip is essentially, you know, while this is still in its window, you've got to go in sequence. So hold, LED turns green, volume up, volume down. Then we come over here, and 3 is mute. So I press there. Source, you hold. 5 to skip, you actually press the button, wait for it to flash. When you long press, you also have to like hold it for an obscene amount of time until the LED flashes. And then that finally got me to 6 and 7. So up for track up, down for track down, and then you simply just quit working. You wait, the thing flashes. Still wouldn't work, and would you believe it that I went over to the radio? The music's going the whole time, mind you, volume up and down work, so I'm not thinking there's any issues. The radio's facing the other side, I can't see it. I finally go over there. It's not in demo, but it's on like startup screen. So all I did is click finish, and then I waltzed back over here, and all of a sudden track up and down were working. So you tell me. Now, had volume up and volume down not have worked, I probably would have gone over there a long time ago. It is what it is, man. So this is all back to functioning. And you think, well, hey, you know, that's stupid bit of work there. You already had it function. I did, but we didn't have anything routed, and we didn't have that bus bar functional. So it looks like a jumble of mess right now, but we're going to figure out where to mount it. We're going to have all of that set up. It's all functional. I know it's good. We'll get everything tucked back in. The mic, the GPS antenna is coming. And then the main thing for setting this up is like we were just going to have an overload of stuff. So this little thing right here off of our AEM gauge, if I remember right, red power, black ground, I think white is what we're going to connect to the HP tuner deal, which will plug into the OBD2 port. So this will come in handy, these two, because we can go right there. That'll be super awesome. And I think that's it. I think that's possibly it. And then I can put this all back together, aside from, of course, the fact, I don't remember if I covered this because it would have been a long time ago. We apparently like burned out the bulb in this, or something went catastrophically wrong. So I have a new headlight switch. It looks like it was used. I got it from Rock Auto. Pretty ticked about that because I didn't open it for a long time. And it's also, I think it was cracked and missing something, if I remember correctly. It was a bad day. I've tried to put it out of my mind. It was a long time ago. But anyway, I'll probably just check this and make sure it didn't magically start working again, the illumination. And then essentially we mount that, we get everything kind of bundled up, cleaned up, and we're going. So if we could just get the interior finished out, I'd be a very happy little guy. So like I said, though, it is legitimately after midnight there, 12:11. So I'm going to run inside, check tool of the day at KC Tool. That's how you get them when they're in stock. And going to disconnect this battery, get everything shut down, lock up the boxes, make sure I don't have anything else charging or anything crazy. I don't know that that's the end of this video. We might just combine everything. I never really know until I look at the editing time and the lengths and stuff. But yeah, we're going, and we'll make it happen. So with that said, I'll catch you back here tomorrow, and we'll continue cleaning this mess up. All right, so Sunday fun day. We're back in the shop, hot 93 degrees out here. But this little harness here is from our AEM wideband. Essentially, black and red are what we're concerned with now. That is going to be power and ground. And conveniently, thanks to that little bus bar, we've got power and ground readily accessible without doing crazy tie-in somewhere in an obscure location that requires removing a stereo. So we're going to terminate those with these little blue ones. They're nothing fancy. They're just what came with the bus bars. I've been having a really good luck. My ratcheting crimpers were kind of crushing them. These old school Knipex ones are actually doing really good for me on those. So we'll get those two terminated. The white wire, this is again off the AEM. The white is going to be our 0 to 5 volt input signal. That's an important one. The blue one, I think it's like something crazy, high-speed data logging we're not interested in right now, so we'll snip that back. But the white, we will go ahead and figure out how we're going to terminate that, and we will wind up connecting that, I believe, to the red wire off the HP. I just watched a video from HP, and their information in the video about input 1 and input 2 conflicted with what's in the manual, so I really don't know which wire of theirs it's going to be. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, just simply going to terminate these. I really wish I had like white heat shrink, but I don't, so that might be something on the wish list. But anyway, that's all we're going to do. That should get us power to the AEM. We'll cut this off so we don't have anything crazy happen with the blue lead, and then white, we'll just have it pre-terminated for connection with the HP ProLink. Alright, so we got those terminated, just need to run the heat shrink on them, but we've got the HP ProLink here. Again, this is going to plug into the MPVI2. It's of course going to plug into the OBD2 port, but right here where it splits out, this is where things get interesting. CAN bus, don't have that in 2001, so don't have to worry about it. So what do we eliminate? Orange and yellow. We're going to use a little Knipex there and snip these off flush. Right here, black, you guessed it, ground. Red, you guessed it, power. Or I'm sorry, let me think again, this is kind of backwards. So black is ground. This is kind of feeding itself its own power, if you will, through the OBD2 port. Red, according to the printed instructions, not the HP video, red is analog 1 and blue is analog 2. So I'm going to go ahead and use red and hope that it's analog 1. I guess we'll figure it out, in the software if we can't ever bring it up or something. So you might choose to terminate those in conjunction with one another. That way, if you just want to quickly, disconnect, or if you plan to even add something in the future, I assume you would use the same style terminals, right? You could switch your male and female, whatever you need to do. But orange and yellow get snipped, black goes to ground, red and blue are analog 1 and 2 respectively, according to this source, not according to other HP sources. So either way, minor deal, we'll figure it out. Just wish there was like 100% consistency there. But anyway, there's our handiwork down here. And we'll kind of replicate this, get it going, and then basically just route everything. I'm going to draw out what mess of spaghetti we've created and get everything mapped out, take it from there. Alright, so I've got some heat shrink cooling down over there, but this is the headlight switch I ordered. I don't know what the red dot means, but I'm pretty sure this was returned from someone. Why? It was taped. The bag was already torn. It looked dirty. And while the front looks pretty solid, you come around to the back and somebody had a bad day. And you can see right there, that blue thing that looks chewed up, and there's a clip present that should not be there. Right. Well, I've got my factory switch over here, and I'm assuming they didn't understand lock tabs or something. So if I slide this off, you'll note I don't have anything blue in there. And when we look in here, that's what the internal plug is. And I'm kind of thinking I might be able to pick that stupid thing out. And if I could do that, I could possibly save myself. It's pretty much impossible to get a hold of anyone at Rock Auto. Outside of new orders type of a thing. Great place, great prices, good shipping, lots of good, but in terms of contacting someone with an issue, yeah, I don't know. Haven't known of many people with success there, so I kind of think we can dissect that and see if they've screwed up the pins or not. It looks like they've definitely been pulled up. You can't really, I guess you can kind of see the copper in there. So I'm going to play with this a little bit and see if we can maybe salvage this thing, because like I said, this has just been sitting for a long time. I don't think I could do anything if I could get a hold of anyone, but while I let that cool down, I'll be playing with this, see what we can do. Alright, so over here, apologies for the messy workbench, but yeah, does that blue look familiar to you? It should, because it was previously residing in there. So again, I think somebody had a bad day, was probably rushing around, so we got that out. It's a little beat up here. You can tell they were kind of picking and prying at it, but I'm hoping it's okay otherwise. The issue we had with the factory headlight switch is something I had done when we attempted to put the blue LEDs in. This one is fine, the fog light. The main one was not. If you look right there, that looks to be burned, doesn't it? So that might explain that issue. Now I think I've got there should be another one of these little VHAs here that'll fit. I'm going to actually extract this one, take a look at it, and then we'll kind of move on and see what we want to do. Alright, I came over here to the sanding cart and took some corners off. Why? It just wasn't wanting to seat well. I think we'd covered that before. I went ahead and took the corners off on the other sides, but this is where we did most of the work. Essentially, when this came to a 90 degree, that channel of the dash frame was sort of riding it up. Might have to come back more, I don't know. Just went ahead and took quite a bit off here on this first pass. We'll see how it turns out. And the plan is to basically, if this can get to where it seats flush, I'll come through the backside with a center punch, and then we'll drill out, and that's kind of going to be our only mount. We could run some Velcro or double-sided tape. We'll just kind of see once we have that hole for the self-tapper from the original dash frame in place. Alright, so there she is. Went ahead and drilled it out. Should have plenty of space for the fastener. Also going to go ahead, I have some of this stuff just as well use it. Going to cut it to length. One side obviously will fix to the dash frame, the other to this. Should kind of help keep it seated. Where I live, typically it gets so hot in the summer, kind of like now, that the adhesive just fails one side or the other. Sometimes it's not necessarily the Velcro, but literally the adhesive that fails. So yeah, I'll always have to think about that. But we'll try it without the Velcro first, and then we'll just go ahead and see if we want to add that for peace of mind. Alright, test fit elected. Go ahead and go with the Velcro. Not often you get to see me use these. I do use them. I don't usually think to showcase it, but it's the Felo Awl. That's right. You can come in, if you've got a sharp pick, you can actually use that to kind of find the hole, do less damage. But in this case, when working with Velcro, you'll note I came in from the back side with the Velcro. The reason for that, if you tried to come in from the front side, you're going to wind up pushing that Velcro away. Even if you have it held in a vise or have an assistant or something, it's just better to come through this direction. What that's going to do is allow us to seat that screw through easily. And we'll go ahead and get this thing mounted up in the truck. Alright, the battery's connected. It's like 11. I had no idea it was this late. Haven't had a drink, haven't had supper, but I guess we'll go without. Everything's buttoned up temporarily here. That white will be for our HP ProLink. The main thing, though, I wanted to set this thing up. And we don't have any interior lights. I pulled the headlight switch, so my apologies. But the AEM is totally functional. We don't have a O2 sensor, so it's not heating up or anything like that. 14.7, everything's stoic here. And then the main thing, stereo is set up. It's kind of blurry with that plastic on it, but might have to tuck the wires a little better, in particular that GPS antenna. I've got everything kind of fished through. All I have to do is make that connection over there for the reverse input. The backup camera is working aside from that. Steering wheel controls work. This does, spoiler alert, actually let me do the function on the long play like we programmed it, so I can go from, you know, HD radio to FM to CD to Bluetooth to phone to all kinds of crud. Haven't played with it just yet. I went ahead and pulled that guy. If you know, you know. We're going to ground that thing out. That's all I'll say there. And that is about it, I think. This is kind of tentatively complete for the night because, again, I guess I've been out here like 7 hours without stopping. And, I did do a lot of stuff I didn't film, like you'll see that blue back in there. That's actually what I kind of used to kind of route some of the wires down. It worked out pretty well. Main thing now is just I'm probably going to have to slit that black harness you see down there. That's from the AEM gauge. And I'll have to pull white so we can make the connection to the HP ProLink and kind of keep it stealthy. I don't exactly know how we're going to do that yet. I'll need the trim panel on. But I think this is probably a wrap on this video unless we decide to like button everything back up. So pretty happy with how it's coming out. Again, everything is good here. My steering wheel controls work. I will tell you, it's kind of getting annoying, the no fuel or low fuel. It's no fuel if you forgot, and the low washer fluid, so I may dump something in there just to get rid of that. Airbag, once we make that connection, everything should be good. I also need to connect the passenger side one as well. But yeah, pretty content with everything so far. So there's really surprisingly limited space in that dash cavity, I guess in part because the firewall, you know, you've got the cowl and the engine's perched underneath it. So you would think in this truck you just have acres of real estate there like you do the fan shroud, and that is not the case. So that's kind of disappointing. I would really like to have mounted that like in different location on the firewall even. There's not space. it's kind of crazy, really. So where we put it is one of the available spots, and it's really one of the only available spots where you don't have accelerator pedal, brake pedal, crud tons of factory wiring already present, or no space and no access. So it is what it is, but that's what we've done. And again, there she is, the little AEM gauge, which will allow us to get the tune on this 408 dialed in. And there's the default stereo. Obviously didn't set the time or anything. We're gonna pull the battery here in a second. So yeah, pretty content with the progress, and we'll take it from there. So very, very close, just need time, and luckily I finally had time this week. All right, I have not played with a microphone, and that's not where that thing is gonna stay, but past that, I think everything is golden.